From the dawn of man, conflict has been an unfortunate companion to our species. These conflicts, driven by ambition, ideology and at times, simple desperation, have reshaped the destinies of nations and left behind a trail of staggering human cost. This series delves into the heart of these tumultuous events, exploring the top 10 most destructive wars in human history. Prepare to journey through time, as we uncover the causes, the consequences, and the enduring impact of these conflicts on the course of civilization. The year was 1939. The world watched as the Nazi war machine rolled across the borders of Poland, igniting a global conflict that would consume nearly every corner of the globe. From the beaches of Normandy to the deserts of North Africa, the clash of ideologies and the quest for dominance plunged humanity into its darkest hour. World War II was a truly global conflict with over 30 countries involved and battlefronts spanning multiple continents. The war saw the rise of unprecedented atrocities, from the systematic extermination of millions in Nazi concentration camps to the devastating atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Entire cities lay in ruins, economies crumbled, and the world was left grappling with the profound psychological and political ramifications of the conflict. The echoes of World War II continue to resonate today, a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the enduring consequences of unchecked aggression. It was a conflict that began in the summer of 1914, sparked by the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria. What began as a regional dispute quickly escalated into a global conflict, dragging Europe's great powers and their colonies into a bloody stalemate. The trenches of World War I became synonymous with the horrors of modern warfare. From the Somme to Verdun, millions of soldiers faced unimaginable conditions, enduring relentless artillery bombardments, chemical weapon attacks, and the constant threat of disease. New technologies like the machine gun and poison gas emerged, leading to unprecedented levels of carnage. By the time the armistice was signed in 1918, an estimated 40 million people had perished, leaving behind a generation scarred by the horrors they had witnessed. The map of Europe was redrawn, empires crumbled, and the seeds of future conflict were sown in the ashes of the Great War. For over 2 decades, from 1803 to 1815, Europe trembled under the thunder of marching boots and the roar of cannons. At the heart of this storm stood Napoleon Bonaparte, a brilliant military strategist and ambitious emperor who sought to reshape the destiny of Europe. The Napoleonic Wars were a series of conflicts that pitted France against various coalitions of European powers. Napoleon's armies, known for their discipline and tactical brilliance, swept across the continent, conquering vast territories and toppling established regimes. From the scorching sands of Egypt to the frozen plains of Russia, Napoleon's campaigns left an enduring mark on the political and social landscape of Europe. However, Napoleon's quest for dominance ultimately proved to be his undoing. His disastrous invasion of Russia in 1812, coupled with the combined might of his European adversaries, led to his downfall at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. The Napoleonic Wars, though ultimately unsuccessful for Napoleon himself, left a profound legacy, ushering in an era of nationalism and significant military and political reforms. In 19th-century China, the Taiping Rebellion shook the Qing dynasty, led by Hong Xiuquan, who claimed to be Jesus Christ's brother. Promising equality and land reform, millions joined his cause, forming a formidable army. The rebellion, marked by brutality, resulted in 20 to 30 million deaths. Though crushed, it exposed Qing weaknesses, contributing to their eventual downfall. In the shadow of World War II, another brutal conflict raged in Asia, leaving an indelible mark on China and Japan. The Second Sino-Japanese War, from 1937 to 1945, was a clash of ideologies and a struggle for resources. Japan, driven by imperial ambitions, launched a full-scale invasion of China. The conflict saw brutal tactics, including the infamous Nanjing Massacre. The Chinese, led by Chiang Kai-shek and Mao Zedong, mounted fierce resistance. Civilians endured unimaginable hardships as cities were bombed and millions displaced. Estimates of the death toll range from 15 to 20 million, mostly civilians. The war weakened the nationalist government, paving the way for communist victory in 1949. The scars of this conflict continue to influence China-Japan relations today. In the aftermath of the Russian Revolution, a brutal civil war erupted, tearing the former Russian Empire apart. The Russian Civil War, from 1917 to 1922, pitted the Bolshevik Red Army against the White Army. Led by Lenin and Trotsky, the Bolsheviks sought to establish a communist state. Opponents included monarchists, liberals, and socialists. Millions died from fighting, famine, and disease. The Bolshevik victory in 1922 led to the Soviet Union's establishment. In the heart of Europe, a conflict erupted that would engulf the continent in flames for 3 decades. The 30 Years' War, lasting from 1618 to 1648, was a complex and multifaceted struggle, fueled by religious tensions, political ambitions, and the desire for power. What began as a religious conflict between Catholic and Protestant states in the Holy Roman Empire quickly escalated into a wider European war, drawing in powers like France, Sweden, and Denmark. Armies marched across the continent, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. The 30 Years' War was a brutal conflict characterized by sieges, battles, and widespread plunder. Civilians often bore the brunt of the violence, with armies living off the land and leaving behind devastation. The Peace of Westphalia, signed in 1648, marked the end of the war and established a new international order. The 30 Years' War remains a stark reminder of the destructive power of religious intolerance and the enduring legacy of conflict in Europe. In the aftermath of World War II, as the world emerged from the ashes of conflict, a new war erupted on the Korean Peninsula, one that would divide the nation and shape the geopolitical landscape of East Asia for decades to come. The Korean War, lasting from 1950 to 1953, was a proxy war between the United States and its allies, supporting South Korea, and the Soviet Union and China backing North Korea. The war began with a surprise invasion of South Korea by North Korean forces, seeking to unify the peninsula under communist rule. The United States, fearing the spread of communism, intervened militarily, leading to a bloody conflict that drew in troops from around the world. Despite the immense human cost, the Korean War ended in a stalemate, with the two Koreas remaining divided by a heavily fortified border, the Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ. The war had a profound impact on the Korean Peninsula, leaving behind a legacy of division, mistrust, and the ever-present threat of renewed conflict. In the jungles and rice paddies of Southeast Asia, a long and bloody conflict raged, one that would divide a nation, fuel anti-war protests around the world, and leave an indelible mark on the American psyche. The Vietnam War, lasting from the 1950s to 1975, was a complex and multifaceted struggle, rooted in the Cold War rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union. The war pitted the communist government of North Vietnam and its allies in South Vietnam, the Viet Cong, against the government of South Vietnam, supported by the United States. The United States, seeking to contain the spread of communism, gradually escalated its involvement in the conflict, sending hundreds of thousands of troops to fight in the jungles of Vietnam. The war had a devastating impact on Vietnam, leaving behind a legacy of destruction, division, and the lingering effects of Agent Orange, a herbicide used by the United States that caused widespread environmental damage and health problems. In the mid-18th century, a global conflict erupted, one that would pit the great powers of Europe against each other on battlefields around the world. The 7 Years' War, lasting from 1756 to 1763, was a struggle for empire, a clash of ideologies, and a pivotal chapter in the history of colonialism. The war pitted Great Britain and its allies against France, Austria, Russia, and other European powers. The conflict raged across North America, Europe, India, and the Caribbean, with navies clashing at sea and armies battling for control of strategic territories. The war led to significant territorial changes, with Great Britain emerging as the dominant colonial power, particularly in North America and India. The war had a profound impact on the course of history, shaping the destinies of nations and influencing the development of global trade and diplomacy. The conflicts we've explored stand as stark reminders of the cyclical nature of violence and the enduring human capacity for both destruction and resilience. The millions who perished in these wars serve as a solemn reminder of the true cost of conflict, a cost measured not just in lives lost but in generations scarred, economies shattered, and potential left unfulfilled. Let these stories serve as a call to action, a reminder that the pursuit of peace and understanding is not a passive endeavor, but an active choice we must make each and every day. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of history's darkest chapters. Please subscribe to this channel for more explorations of the past, present, and future of our world.